Hey everyone, welcome to The Brave and the Wild, a podcast by Eat What You Kill, hosted by myself, Tim Keverman. Welcome to episode 4. In this episode of The Brave and the Wild, I'm joined by Dave Perry, a soldier turned engineer and now a passionate hunter based in Wellington, New Zealand. In this episode, we discuss some of Dave's experiences in the army and how they set an early foundation and connection to the wild. Now, the Ruahine Ranges are Dave's second home, a place to nurture his mental health on solo missions while also guiding others into the world of hunting. To keep in theme with the promotion of positive mental health, we delve into Dave's experiences with depression. He describes what went wrong, what went right, and how he continues to manage, thrive, and instill in others the experiences that helped him recover from a time when things weren't so great. Alright, man. Well, for those just tuning in, I'm joined by Dave Perry today. Dave was actually mentioned in the first episode with Ryan on a hunt you took him on. And Dave is known as a bit of an outdoorsman hunter. He'll tell us a bit more about himself. You're based in Wellington?
Yeah, right, just up on the mighty Kapiti coast. Wellington to be exact. So, from the mighty, south of the North Island, I suppose.
And what's been happening? How's your raw? You've been away on a few hunts I've seen?
Yeah, right. The raw itself probably didn't go for me, because obviously I do a lot of hunting around the Ruahines as my sort of main stomping ground, and I'm chasing that big Ruahine 12. Like, I've shot a fair few stags out of the Ruahine, so in that sense it probably wasn't that eventful, but it was good in a good way. Like, took a couple of guys out from work over 2 weekends, and both managed to shoot deer. One of them was his first deer, so that was a pretty wicked experience for him on public land. So and last weekend was probably towards the dying stages of the raw, but we it turned into a bit of a. It was only supposed to be an overnighter. Like, we had a bit more than an overnighter, but we kind of planned it to shoot up to this area that I'd hunted for sort of the last 10 years, and just started with a bit of a catastrophe in terms of got the vehicle stuck on the track up at about 7 o'clock at night, and then drove up the tops and ended up spending the night in the ute. But then we walked down the next day and ended up bowling about 5 deer over in there. So it was a pretty eventful night in that sense. But no, seen one decent one. He was crossing pretty quickly, though, chasing his horns. But so we didn't end up nailing him, but still some decent meat with carrying bloody 2.5 deer out was a bit niggly. But
I was going to say,
it was good, man.
That's a lot of meat to carry out.
Yeah, bro. It was probably. I think I'd like to say I carried a fair bit of stuff in my time, especially in the army and then hunting. But it's probably the heaviest pack I've ever carried. And
that's interesting.
straight up, bro. So it was, it was definitely soul searching, character building, but it was a good result. So Freezer's full, Mrs. is happy. So
nice.
More than that.
And what else have you been up to besides hunting? What keeps you busy at the moment?
Bro, I work for Higgins as I don't even know what you call me now. I think I went for I was the operations manager for the Higgins Wellington, and then I sort of transitioned into a sort of site manager, project engineer type role, studying engineering at the same time. So it definitely keeps me busy. But on top of work, bro, just got a bloody dropped a 1920s house on a section, so I'm trying to get it
nice.
over time. So it's pretty long.
I was just going to say, is all your spare time hunting, or have you got other things you do? But obviously you do.
Well, to be fair, as much as my partner hates it, my spare time at the moment has been actually just hunting. So
is that because of the time of the year, or is that pretty common for you? Year round.
It's pretty common, bro. Like, I think, I like to say I'm out most of the time, which is, it's just I've been doing it for years now, so
it's just a part of life.
Yeah, man, for sure. So.
Yeah, and you were in the army. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and you were in the army, you mentioned.
Yeah, man. So I think I've been out. I left the army in 2014, so would have been out a fair while now.
Yeah,
served in the infantry.
Nice. So when did you join?
Yeah. Joined in 2009. So I was a fresh young stud, about 19 years old. Did my basic training in Wairau, which was the first time I'd been without my mum, which I thoroughly struggled with, as you can imagine, being a young buck. Yep. Giving your mum a hard time when you're a teenager, and then you learn to appreciate it pretty quickly when you're getting fucking drilled and push-ups in the snow and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
I imagine it's a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah,
nice.
It is. But it's good, man. I definitely encourage any young buck to sort of not know what they want to do with their lives to give the army a nudge, for sure.
Yeah, you think you got a lot out of it?
Yep. I think definitely the main thing for me out of the army was sort of definitely being comfortable in the bush on your own. You get, as you can imagine, Wairau is pretty gnarly, so you sort of survive out there. You can, get around in most places. So being comfortable in the bush is probably the best thing I got out of the army.
It's interesting, actually. A lot of the hunters I've spoken to and follow on Instagram and have had yarns with, especially the more like super hardcore ones, have all been ex-army or have been in the army at some point. And I guess it just gives you that level of fitness and, like you say, the other skills you need to be super comfortable in that environment.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but New Zealand Army's not a real combat army, which I joined up to just like most young guys. The first thing in my head was, I've watched Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan and stuff all my life, and I want to go out and been out in the bush, and it just seemed suited to me to go. And I definitely wanted to go to war being young, and I think looking back now, I'm ripe age of 32. I look back and quite glad that I didn't go into a combat zone, and especially with some of the mental health battles I've had just without combat zone is definitely a good. I'm glad I didn't go to war at such a time when I was dead set that I wanted to go and fight. So
I think it would change you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, man, I think so. Like, I've got a lot of good friends who have been in combat situations, and it's definitely changed them. Some deal with them differently. Some guys will drink and talk about it. Some guys will be fucking CrossFit athletes and do ridiculous workouts, which is probably the better way of obviously more healthier way of dealing with things. But for me, I'm definitely, the opportunity to serve the country was awesome. But in saying that, I'm glad I didn't have to shoot anyone, so to speak, in the nicest way possible.
Fair cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'd really like to talk about, I know you've got a lot you'd like to talk about in regards to mental health and your past and how the hunting ropes into that, but I would like to touch a little bit on the hunting first if we can. I know your nickname, or what you're more formally known as, is the Flannelette Hunter, and I was wondering if you could tell me where that came from.
Oh, fuck. I should probably try and sort that out. I don't think I'll wear flannel shirts in the bush anymore. But I fucking, it's sort of, I think because I lived in, my perception of hunting was always that, you didn't always need the best gear to go out and just make it happen. Like, my time now is obviously I do have invested into better gear and that, but at the time it was more for me, was just like, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of, probably the perception of what, gear would make things easier, any of that sort of thing. I just wanted to go. I went out there with a flannel shirt and shitty old jeans from bloody the warehouse, and got some shit boots, and took my rifle and went out and still, could come back with an animal. Spent my time, majority of my hunting years over the last few years, hunting with a Lee Enfield rifle with no scope.
That was going to be my next question.
Of being up. Yeah, it's sort of, it's more just, I think I used to get a bit of shit. So I still get shit because I literally wear flannel shirts to work like every single day. Like, I don't know, it's like wearing a bed sheet or something. So I fucking just enjoy flannel shirts. I get a lot of shit for it, but it's I don't know. It sort of became a bit of a nickname, and people started noticing it. So it just stuck for a while. But I like to think I've grown out of the persona of being on Instagram and making a name for yourself. I'll probably just change it back to Dave Perry. Boring as it sounds.
Yeah.
Still and the shirts, obviously.
And the rifle, I assume, is a 303?
Yep.
And what sort of distances have you taken animals with that at, bearing in mind there's no scope on it?
The best animal I've taken was actually was a couple of years ago. The longest shot I've taken was about 200 metres, 196, I think. But that was, there's a bit of a story behind that too. I was actually up at Longview Hut, just up off Hawke's Bay, and I was with a girl, and I was trying to sort of show off a little bit. She might listen to this and be like, "You're an idiot." Not my partner. She's not my partner now. She's I've seen the deer. Probably we were sitting up grassing on the tops, and I've seen the deer just moving through the leatherwood, and then it's probably a good 500 metres away. So I ranged to it, and then I ranged down to a ridge that was opposite it, and then but between me getting to that ridge was about fucking devil's worth of leatherwood, which is, as most Ruahine hunters would know, is death on a stick. So I was just clambering over that, falling through all sorts of shit. And then plus the wind was coming up behind me, so I didn't even know that. I was like, I'm pretty much just doing this to show off, and it's not going to come to anything. But yeah, funnily enough, got up to an area and then ended up there was a tree going between me, and then there's a big bluff underneath, and I sort of lined up on this tree with this bluff under me, and ranged in. It was 200, wind was blowing. I was like, fuck, have a nudge, fired, and then luckily the deer was on scree face, so the first round actually missed, but I've seen where the shot landed. So adjusted, and then I got a second shot, and then actually got it on the second shot. So that was the longest one. But I'd say probably the most memorable would be a bull tar on the west coast.
I was just going to ask you about that. That's pretty epic for that style of rifle with no sort of magnified optic on it.
Yeah. So I went with a sort of a bit of a local legend, Justin Amore. He's pretty well known. He's an old codger and definitely got a lot of knowledge on hunting and that. And we went up there it was about 3 days to walk in, full packs and that. And then we stayed up in this rock bivvy. I probably won't say as much to where it is because I've copped a bit of flack with sending a few photos from the old West Coast hunters. But it was a pretty special moment of time. It was, it was just the day we went out. It was actually to go and recover a tar that Justin had shot the day before, and we sort of just didn't think much was hanging around because of the weather. So the rain was coming down on top of the snow. So as you get where it's just fucking waterfalls everywhere. And Justin sort of climbed up to recover his one, and then big bull just popped out, and it was just put it down. So that was special. It was definitely a challenge to. That rifle is pretty fucking heavy. Like it's a heavy.
I can imagine.
Piece of 4x2 with a big piece of metal through it. So lugging that around for days on end to come away with that was special. So that tasked me hunted, and as soon as I can get it up,
nice.
I definitely store it. Yeah, it was nice. Pretty special, man. So.
And are you still using that rifle, or have you got something else you use now as well?
Yeah. Well, no, I still use it. Because I sort of started taking a lot of younger, people were coming up asking to go hunting, and there's a lot of guys that might, first started at Higgins, that they were going out as well, and then I sort of took. I knew pretty quickly that I was taking people out, and then they were having to line up with a 303, which is just, it's not really for two reasons. I've spent a lot of time on it shooting it, like it's me, like I'm comfortable shooting it.
Yeah.
But then when you're sort of lining someone who's pretty fresh, it's actually not that humane for the animal as such too, because you're not really getting that clean shot. So I sort of learnt off the first trip. I was like, well, I should probably invest in something else. So I ended up buying a Hell's Canyon 7mm remake. with a good
Nice.
range on it. So it's a good rifle. But yeah, it's predominantly for other people. I took the 303 on the last trip, especially it's good in the raw because if you can get the deer in close enough and get that shot away, it's pretty effective, especially bush hunting. It's the best bush hunting rifle you can imagine. So it's just the open sights and the punching power on it's pretty good for sure.
Where did you get it from? Because I guess there's not a whole lot of them around anymore.
I actually had this is probably going back to when I was probably in a bit of a dark bout of depression. It was quite a weird story. Like my uncle actually had, because I'd sort of just done a time in Australia. Like I went over and worked in the mine, so I came back from New Zealand and I'd sold all my rifles and all that stuff. So I came back and got straight back into hunting. And then my uncle had he actually had a jungle carbine, smaller stock sort of thing. So I was using that, and then I was like, my mental health was building. I was like, this new challenge was just keeping me busy. And then my uncle was like, I need those rifles back. I need to hang them on my walks. So I was like, fuck.
Oh, okay.
What am I going to do? So we went into I went looking for another one. There wasn't really anything because all the barrels are usually pretty buggered on them. And then went to this Upper Hut gun store. And it was literally like the bloody, I don't know, I walked into the gun store, it was like the goblet of fire, just this clean, pristine fucking rifle just sitting there glowing at me. I was just like, I have to have that. So it was about $1,200, but the barrel on it was perfect. It's seen a bit of history, but it's been well looked after. So yeah, she's
nice.
And between that time and now, the rifle's actually pretty fucked because I've sort of been pretty rough with it. But it's still that's sort of how I ended up with that boy.
Nice. And when we spoke previously, you mentioned you had some mental health stories that sort of related to hunting and possibly your time in the army and just your life in general. And that's sort of a big part of what I want to continue talking about on The Brave in the Wild. So I was interested in your insight from that point of view, I guess.
Yeah, man, like I think I've grown to initially me talking about my mental health on a sort of public forum was always a bit kind of worrying. I don't know. I got a bit anxious about it, but now I'm a bit like because of seeing what I've come from to where I am now, I'm pretty happy to blow away at it. So it sort of started for me. It was a pretty I think for a long time, depression had boiled up in me, and then just like most males, you don't really notice it, or you can't put your finger on it, what it is, and then it's the same with anxiety, and then you kind of just like the hard part is actually accepting it. And then, so, going in to see a doctor and being told, you've probably got, this is high, you're showing all the signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety. So went in, was prescribed antidepressant medication, and, started seeing a therapist, which was good. Like the antidepressants for me, probably I didn't really hang out on them too much. It didn't I sort of felt it wasn't quite working. And then, therapist was quite good. And then, but then it was sort of needed something else in the interim. So getting back to the hunting itself was the main thing for me. At first, it took ages, bro. Like it was, I think depression is definitely like a long game.
Was this after you left the army that this all sort of came about?
I think probably,
or was it going on earlier?
Back, it probably was going on earlier, I think. But I didn't really do anything about it until, I'd say my career ended in 2014 and doing it about until 2019. So that's probably how long I was hanging out on it. But, obviously being a soldier and the industry I was in, because I worked in the mines and I'm a driller by trade. So you sort of don't really, you do shut it off a lot. You sort of say, it's a token fucking bloke shit that, everyone causes more problems.
Kiwi bloke shit.
Good. Yeah, that's exactly it, dude. So, so I sort of dealt with it, and then I had nipped it in there, and then probably, but even from then too, because I was still drinking, didn't think anything to do with drinking was part of it. So, probably dealing. But then obviously got back into hunting, and then probably got into social media a lot. Interacted with meet guys like Justin and Ryan and you know Rosie and Dan Tong, and just heaps of awesome people, and like yourself through social media, which helped. But it was still the hunting probably was still kind of very fresh. But then as time went on and hunting, and then the more and more I was hunting, the more and more I was going out, like, you know, you start hunting and then you're going out with mates, and then you're like, oh fuck, I'll go on my own. And then you start solo hunting, and solo hunting was awesome for mental health. I mean, like it pushes a challenge, and it's and then, you know, you go from solo hunting and you're like, fuck, I want to go harder, higher, I want to go in the bush deeper, I want to go for longer, I want to go for, and then it all just accumulates. And then after a while, man, like, because in this time, like, I'm hunting, but I'm making fucking heaps of mistakes. Like, I'm fucking getting the wind wrong on deer. Like, I'm walking through. I'm being impatient. I'm just like, I'm and I should be sitting back glassing. I'm trying to fucking walk through, and I'm just blazing sign through the bush and just getting off pretty much anything, and picking shit routes and getting myself stuck in the bush at night. Got myself lost. Got myself fucking just everything goes wrong. But then, you know, at the time you think you're a muppet, and probably forget, I was like, you know, fucking muppet, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. But then after that, when you start learning from it, you start, like, you know, gaining a lot of knowledge, but you don't realise it. You don't really realise it until you start taking guys who haven't been out before. They're like, oh, fuck, you know, she knows something. But for me, like, it's going back to the mental health stuff too. It was just, you know, I had, probably to be more specific, I started hunting in an area called, you know, which is the southern, obviously I say the Ruahines, but it's more or less the southern Ruahines, which is weird because literally the Tauraruas is about a fucking kilometre that way, which is, you know, two and two together, you just go jump in the mountain ranges in your backyard. But for some reason, I just got hooked into the Ruahines, and I think every time I felt like shit too, I'd go in there on my own for a weekend or whatever, and then, you know, come back out, you know, feeling a lot better, and it just kind of rolled on into so many other different things, changing.
Do you think do you think the aspect of hunting where you had to learn a new skill, like you said, you did a whole heap of shit wrong, you felt like a muppet and all that stuff, do you think if you had gone in there and been an expert hunter from day one, it had been easy, it would have helped your mental health as much? I get the impression that, well, for me anyway, in the learning that I'm doing, the benefits that come from it is that you are progressing and getting better at something, and that makes you feel good. Whereas if you just went in there and it was easy and you did it, you wouldn't really get that joy of learning and progressing. So I assume it's probably the same for you, that when you go on one trip and you feel like a muppet, and then you go on another one and you get something right, that's where it's like the pat on the back from yourself comes in. Yeah, man.
I think, like, regardless if you're an experienced hunter and that, you're literally always learning, eh? Like, you see lessons, you see, like, I love Caden Willis. Like, I talk to him a fair bit, but, you know, you see the Hunters Club where he's punched himself in the face pulling a bow back. It's just people. It just, like, hunting. That's the cool thing about hunting, is that it doesn't matter how experienced you are. Like, you could be the most experienced. You could be Willie and Greg Dooley walk into the bush, shoot nothing, and then you could be fucking Joe Blogg walking the same area and then shoot something. And then, you know, the exact experience. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. It's like there's a massive, regardless of people say, there's a lot of experience and skill and time and all that sort of stuff going into it. But, you know, the best thing about hunting is there's an element of luck. And then that's, but yeah, as you say, like, going in and learning things by yourself, there's a degree of safety in that too. Like, you know, you've got to be, you know, know your limits, but actually going out there on your own and just working it all out yourself is the best. You can read as many books, you can take as much advice, which is good, and you should always listen to it. I listen to everyone. Like, if I'm out with someone it's their first time and they're like, oh, well, should we try this route? You'd be like, yeah. You know, why not? It fucking might be a deer down there. You never know. Literally, you can walk 3 steps, and that's the thing I say to the lads too when they get impatient. If you're kind of glassing, you could literally turn your head and talk to your mate, and then a deer could walk across the face and your ear bag is gone. It's just,
and that's also the excitement, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome, man.
Going back to the depression and you said anxiety. Aside from the medication and the therapy,
right.
you did.
I've seen a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And did you stay on the medication, or did you find that talking to the therapist and the hunting and anything else you were doing that wasn't medicine helped enough to come off the medication that you were taking?
So initially I had two therapists. I had one at the start who was she was amazing. She was wicked. And then I had sort of another one probably more recently who I didn't have the same connection with. So I think that's important too if you are looking for a therapist.
Yeah, it is.
Having someone there that you can talk to and just be like, and you have the same communication. So that's a key. That was a key thing for me that I noticed through therapy is to keep an eye on. Is definitely the connection you have with the therapist. So
I think that's an important note for people who are looking for a therapist, and that sometimes the first one you meet isn't the one for you. And sometimes the third one you meet isn't the one for you. But when you do find one that you connect with, in my opinion, life gets a lot better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference on who, but a lot of how they can interpret your life to you. So if you talk about, you go to a therapist and they say, what's your, pretty much along the lines of what's your favorite thing to do, like hunting. It's just like, okay, what about hunting will not as opposed to, you should go out hunting more. So what about hunting that makes you feel like, well, then you do notice like things like, yeah, I enjoy going out my own. Why do you enjoy going on your own? Because it makes me feel better. It's just like, if you do this or that, while you're out on your own, is that going to make you feel even better? Stuff like that too. So it's definitely how a therapist can interpret your situation or your life is very important, I reckon.
And you obviously find the solo hunting more beneficial for your recharging your batteries?
Like it is now, because I swear to God, I'm like taking everyone out. It's been good for like people I've been taking out because they're shooting deer. And then fucking lately, I've been going out on my own and shooting nothing. So it's like, what's going on here? So it's been, I think that's an awesome thing for me. There's been a change I've learned obviously through solo hunting, and as I say, learning from mistakes. You learn to pass things on to others, and I think my mental health now, like I've shot so many deer, shot so many animals, and as I say, like we're hunting in the Ruahines, I'm looking for my 12-point Ruahine red to hang up, and that's probably because I love red deer, but it's like favourite animal. I could watch them all day, sort of thing. But I've shot enough. But the more rewarding thing now is like, for example, on the raw trip, I took a guy who was probably he's come up with me a few times, and like, we did a big trip into last year. And all the guys at work sort of managed to get them onto deer. Well, they shot deer, so it was a very team effort. And there was probably another guy at work who's a bit more experienced, was part of the group too. So it was good to
nice.
But then that particular guy that went on the trip, he missed out, so he didn't shoot. He was sort of the only one that didn't shoot a deer. So we were sitting up. It was actually another poem of I don't know, Dave Perry backing up, I suppose. But we changed the stands, but it was flying on the first night. There was roars around us, probably like 5 or 6 deer all around us. Weather was perfect, flying in, seen a mob of deer, seen a decent stag amongst them on the top of the Mokau Partia station. It was like, see, real here in the distance. It was wicked, like wicked first day.
Nice.
So I took him, and then we went for a bit of a look around. I heard a roar, and I knew, a couple of other Fitzy and another mate was down in an area. So I was just like, we'll just leave them for now. And then, we got a couple of days here. So, and then we popped up the other side, seen a young spiker feeding, and then I sort of looked down and seen him, and then I said, we'll leave him for something bigger. And then I was sort of thinking to myself, well, it's sort of Peter's first deer, so I was like, well, I don't want to take him because it's fucking, we can just literally drop down this ridge line and get an easy shot on it and be fine. So he was like, he was pretty keen to. And then I got down to where we're shooting because I let him carry the rifle, but I took all the rounds out. Because last thing I would do is something. Yeah. I'm responsible for him essentially, and if he shot himself or shot someone else, I'd fucking never forgive myself. So I took all the rounds out and I put them in my pocket. And then we got down, and then I went to load it, and then I put my hand in my pocket, and there's a hole in my pocket. Fucking did it. So I was just like, but luckily, like, when I fucking day. We'd left the packs at the top of the ridge, and then I was like, "There's ammunition in the pack, bro. Like, if I line this up, do you want to grab it?" So he boosted. He's pretty fit young bugger, so he ran up the top and really got the rounds, and then came back down, and then luckily the spike had moved off, and a young stag had popped up, so he got them all lined up and dialed in, and he put it down. So, but that feeling there, I think, of someone else getting to experience what hunting is all about is probably more of a mental high for me now than me actually taking an animal.
So you're actually passing on the stuff you've learned. Yeah,
and I think you talk to guides and stuff, and they always say, you're never really hunting, and you can kind of see maybe after a while when you're trying to get people, different types of personalities into hunting. It's always a bit tough, but it's always, for me, it's pretty special to see someone come out and step out of their comfort zone and take an animal down on public land for free. So it's definitely another good concept for my mental health that I keep up with today is definitely being able to introduce people to the bush and then hopefully one day get them out solo hunting and loving it and sending me photos of deer they've shot, which I get a fair bit of now, which is cool. So for sure, man, it's definitely massive.
You mentioned getting them out of their comfort zones. How now, with all your experience and time on the hill and miles walked, how do you put yourself out of your comfort zone now?
I think probably the best place to be would be in the South Island. It's the rugged country up there. It's where you're sort of stepping up into
so harder,
sex crampons,
harder and longer hunting trips.
Yeah, so big expedition sort of stuff, and that's really it's mental toughness in the sense you definitely put yourself in the hurt locker. You're mentally walking in and out, and then you're literally hating it. It's miserable. But I always find too when you do put in those massive efforts is when you do come away with the wicked animals and the mean stories and so that definitely the solo side of things is going into that, the bigger long range stuff what a lot of guys down those weapons down south are doing at the moment, like you got like Monty Dixon and Khan and what they're throwing down is definitely something. And Willie and Greg Dooley is just pretty inspirational stuff. I see them climbing over saddles in some of these crazy places, and that's probably the next thing for me because I know it'll bring fear, which is at the time will be it'll either be the decision to go, but I mean I've done hunting down south too and been in that situation as well, so I do know what to expect. But it just adds more to the.
How do you think those sort of expedition hunts would compare to anything you did in the army? Does it compare, or is it a completely different sort of toughness required to do it? Or I guess, I think you need some mental toughness and some physical toughness to do that sort of hunting. Yeah,
bro. Like, there's some stuff in the army that we've done, like, for example, in I think it was 2011. I think I got 21. Went over to Malaysia to do a world combat survival course with armies all over the world. So it was myself and another New Zealand soldier. And there was a couple of Australians. And that was like probably, because that's polar opposite to New Zealand. It's like tropical heat and shit like that. So we do like 3 days with the classroom stuff. And I teach you sort of, you have to learn 50 different plants and what the uses were. And all that shit. And then so you'd go and spend a week out in the jungle and you'd have to kind of put it all out there, which is a lot harder than what you can learn in 3 days in the classroom. So, one of the factors I think was definitely where to live for a week, where to live in a swamp or like a mangrove. And that was like...
This is in Malaysia.
That was fucked. Like, it was just like... At 21 at the time, bro, I was like, man, I'm a New Zealander. There's all these other armies around you, like the US Marines, and you had the Brits and the Aussies, and you had different armies from all over the world, and you're like, man, I'm not folding. Like, I'm here for New Zealand. So, but that was like... That you sort of... The Malaysian army would drop you to drive you down a river on a boat and they tell you to jump out. And you jump out and then you'd have to swim to the fucking... Oh, you have to, like, strip search beforehand because you weren't allowed to take, like, anything else that was, like... then, yeah, you sort of swim over the other side of the mangrove and then you'd have to put these, you know... Because you're given, like, a machete and a knife and water bottles or something like that. So you sort of have to make your shelter and you had to do everything on the first day because before you lost all your calories. And
yeah,
so
okay.
you put this, like, this fucking... these 4 pillars in the ground and you build like a platform because the tide comes in and out, so you can't, and you've only got like how many hours until the tide comes in.
Yeah,
all sorts of shit swimming around there, like pythons and fucking crocodiles and, you know, mosquitoes and every single bug you can fucking think of is just biting you, and you're trying to cover yourself with mud and all this stuff, and you know you're not eating for days, and I think you're eating.
I was just going to say, did you eat anything?
I think we were eating like we're trying to find the, like, because we did the plant stuff, because I mean trying to hunt, because you literally have these like monkeys above you who are just like taunting you the whole time, pretty much with a big bloody eat me sign on it, that you're trying to throw sticks and stones and shit and you just can't even get to them. And then I think we ended up eating, like, you find these cabbages, and you just eat that for like a week. I think I lost something like 8 kilo or something ridiculous. There's
not many 21-year-olds in New Zealand that would have experienced that. I mean, outside the military, of course, but that must have given you some mental fortitude. Like, did you come back to New Zealand harder? Because I feel like you would.
I came back to New Zealand probably the fucking opposite in terms of harder. I was like, I don't even think I could do like 10 push-ups after that.
Oh, really?
My body was that wrecked, but mentally it was. It's an experience that has definitely played in the back of my mind in terms of hunting. It's just like, you know, when it's cold, wet, and shit, and you're fucking, I don't know, you're bashing up a hill and stuff like that. But, you know, like, you've got your pack on, you've got your sleeping bag, you've got your, you know, you got all your food, and you know, it's like, fuck, is it that bad to do that? But I've been saying that as well. Yeah.
It's such a different. Like, I've been on one solo hunt, which was more of a bushwalk with a gun. And for me, someone that grew up in Auckland working in the corporate world, I've never been on my own in the bush. So it's such a change of environment that I've struggled even with the fucking vines that were everywhere, like getting me caught up in my backpack and that's like panic stations when you're stuck. Like, I was trying to walk across a little creek, which I ended up crawling because I was tangled in the vines. And I got home, made it out, all fine, got home, and I was thinking, shit, that's like the most out of my comfort zone I've been for a long time. And I'm 36. And when you were 21, you were sitting on a platform in Malaysia in a swamp eating cabbages. And it's just such a different, I guess, upbringing. So now, when you do these big expedition hunting trips, I think the gap between myself doing that will be so much vaster mentally than yours, but also your past hunting experiences as well.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's the enjoyment. You know, as I said, I go back to taking, you know, my mate out the other weekend when we obviously flew on my footy and that, just to say, like, you know, he's looking around and he's sort of saying how he's like, fuck, man, you know, I could not survive. I had no idea where we are. I have no idea what direction is. But that's just because it's just like, you know, it's just like anything, man. I remember when I first, for example, in the army, when they first said strip that machine gun, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, what? But then before you know it, time repetition and that, you time and time again, you just become, and that's just like in anything in life, man. You look at like job, people get anxious or anxiety about a new job, or I don't know. I did this best example. Usually going out in the bush on their own, and then they sort of get anxious about, I don't know if I can do this, but it's literally, man. If you just keep doing it, you'll work
safely.
it out, and that's that's it, bro. But I think to have that, and it's amazing, like the people in our generation, and it's when you come into the digital age of things, of people who haven't, the thought of spending a night in the bush is so foreign.
Yeah.
Or being out on your own is such a foreign thing, when essentially, like, we're humans, and we've been hunting on this planet for fucking millions of years, and that's the most primal thing you can take yourself back to. I think that's definitely a special thing about hunting, and why it pertains to mental health, is because it's like a connection with being human again. It's been able to tell yourself that I'm not, especially for males who are pretty hard on themselves and think, that I'm weak or something like that. If going out, probably doesn't necessarily have to be hunting or anything. It could be like hiking or mountaineering or something where you're kind of pushing yourself out of that comfort zone for a certain amount of time. It's quite a special way of, it's something that's just connects you, balances you back to, being human, and then being able to take that when you come back. Because I'll let you go on these trips now. And the best example for me was, I was always anxious about my job, and because I was sort of in a position, essentially, I'm like, I don't know, they call me an engineer-ish sort of thing when I'm studying a diploma, and there's guys who've done degrees and shit like that who are the same thing. I used to get like nervous and stuff like that, but I'll go literally spend a weekend out of the bush, and I'll come back and tell any head honcho that we're putting a pipe in the ground. It'd probably be fucking backwards, but it's a fucking just giving that hunting and the experience and confidence in yourself. It's such a big part of your life when you come back from a trip. That just sort of says that I'm not letting yourself know that you're not, that you've got a lot more in the gas. And I think, everyone is capable of that, to go out and spend a night in the bush. And even doesn't, like as you say, it doesn't have to be, could be a fucking kilometre in the bush on the track, literally sleep next to a dock indicator. If that's what's going to be, like, start there, and then if you stick at that for a few years, you'll be fucking climbing over bloody Mount Cook for sure.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Doing the things that really do test your comfort zones, I think, are the things that give you the bit of the reset, that when you come back to normal life, it's like, oh, I am stronger than I think I am, or I am stronger than I've been telling myself I am. And that's something I really got out of spearfishing, but I assume it's going to be the same with hunting.
Yeah, man. As I say, dude, like, hunting's only one example of what I mean. Some people drive race cars, and that's just if you put me in a Formula One bloody thing and then told me to go 100, I'd shit the bed. And I think that's probably a hard thing for people too, is to try and find what that is for them, to what actually builds them into. But yeah, I think for me, it's like essentially fucking one thing for me, and I always say as well to any guy, is I wish thoroughly I could drink responsibly. Like, I wish I could drink, I wish I could have a couple of, because I love beer, man. I love it. But I mean, I've quit drinking, and that the massive effect it's had on my life in terms of work and decisions and hunting and all that. There's been a massive.
So you don't drink
impact.
at all?
Nah. So it's early days to say at all, but it's only, I think it's been 5 months or something. But it's
nice.
It's definitely something. When you get past the point of no return with something like that, you kind of like, I don't think I'll drink ever again. So it's alcohol is definitely, if good on you if you can handle it, but if you're someone like me, you can't. Then probably
fair enough. We all have our things that just don't agree with us, I think, and that's I think a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, man. Like I as I said, dude, I love beer. Like, I wish I could drink. Like, but it's just something that's probably it too, man. Is finding where you've got to cut your losses a bit. Yep. As being, it might be a toxic relationship, it might be it might be a job you hate, it might be could be anything. Could be anything that's really dragging you down. If it's kind of you've just got to realise that it's dragging you down. That's the fucking hard part. Just saying that this is actually, okay, I don't need this. And then making the tough call to actually be like, commit to it, because essentially for me, like, mental health is a long game. Yep. There's nothing to say that something doesn't happen in my life that completely changes me and makes me take a step back. But I like to think that if you've committed to something like not drinking, hunting, looking after yourself, all that sort of thing, then when you come to that crossroads, you're a lot more better for it.
And you're doing all the right things. Like, everything you've just said, sort of, it sounds like you've made some big decisions that really put your best foot forward to getting really good mental health. And that's what I was about to ask. How is it now? Are you happy? Is your mental health well now?
Bro, I have to say, man,
I know that's a tough question to put you on the spot with.
No, it's not, bro. It's not. It's probably the best it's ever been, for a long time. Like,
brilliant.
And yeah, it's been, and I think I've jumped on podcasts and said that before, and it's probably been a bit of a lie. Not a lie, well, not a lie, but a misconception of, what healthy is.
Yep.
So I think at the moment, bro, like life's going well, like hunting well, awesome seeing people messaging me asking to go hunting, awesome seeing them doing well with their hunting, and then seeing the effect that has on their lives. And I've got an awesome partner. She's been pretty special to put. As you know, blokes and partners in hunting sometimes can clash in terms of when you can go out, but she's pretty awesome to kick me out the door and get me stuck into it. So she
sounds like a keeper.
Relationship's pretty solid. Yeah, she's good, man. She's
nice.
She's good, dude. The house is going. Yeah, right.
What advice would you give someone that's maybe not doing so well at the moment, or looking to take the first step in making themselves feel better?
I think if you can sort of identify what are some, as I say, like mental health is a long game. Like it's not depression and anxiety is a long game, and it's probably something
there's no quick fix.
Will be with you. Yeah, and it's most likely going to be something that's with you forever, if not for a long time, or forever. Like, I think I've accepted that it's, there's always a dark spot in the back of my mind that could easily flourish at any point. So I think for me the main thing is, first of all, find however way you can to identify what the issues are and what are contributing to it, whether that's, as I say, drinking, that's probably... Those are probably more straightforward sort of issues. If it's drinking, relationships, or just the standard. But if it's kind of something outside of that, or chemical imbalance or anything, it's more therapy.
Yep.
And then and the hard part is actually finding where you go from therapy and what kind of tips. For me, like as you say, for me it's like hunting and just continuously challenging myself and all that.
Finding something that you can, I think, feel a sense of growth with and learn and focus on more than anything, so that you're not sitting at home focusing on feeling negative.
And sticking to it is the main thing too. Like if you put it in comparison to someone who's trying to lose weight, so you're gonna, someone who goes to the gym or whatever, and then they're overweight and they're trying to fucking stay at the gym for a week, probably isn't going to change. 2 weeks isn't going to change. 3 weeks isn't going to change. Like a month, start feeling better. 2 months start feeling better. 3 months start looking different. 4 months start. That's the mentality I think you have to have with it. And then so there's obviously the real basics too. Is just general personal health is a massive one. So that's sleep. And if you're not getting enough sleep, what's affecting your sleep? Is it like having a couple of beers every night? Is that affecting it? Is that going to give you a headache? And is that what's changing it? Is there stress involved to you not having a good sleep? Like, are you in a job that's fucking stressing you out or something like that? So the key thing is, your body needs to sleep. As much as people get up and you get these entrepreneurs and stuff on Instagram saying bloody no sleep, no that shit. Like sleep is mostly, you're a human, you need sleep. And then obviously same with that, good food, hydrate, exercise, and then being social is another one. Like I think I probably was solo hunting for a bit too much for a while and then wasn't being social enough. So I've changed that now to get to know people and talk to people and hear different stuff from others. So that's the main thing for like personal health is definitely, and that's going right back to being overweight in the gym. Like you just got to stick to it. You got to stick to your sleep, your food, your water, your social, being social, being all that stuff is you just got to stick to it. And then over time, and then going back to in the bigger picture, it's just finding something you love, hang on to it, and don't let anyone take it from you or define how you use it. You've got to bring the best person out in yourself. So if that's in a relationship where, the other person has to accept why you're doing it because you want to come home and be a better person for them. So that's my main. That's my advice. I think.
Nice.
But that's that's taken me 2 years. 2 years to achieve as well. So it's fucking
like you say,
game, bro.
It doesn't happen overnight, and if it did, there'd be no mental health issues anywhere in the world, and or any issues. Everything that I think is meaningful takes time and effort, and a lot of effort in a lot of cases, a lot more than people realize.
Yeah, man. It's mental health is just. I think my personal opinion. I think everyone, in one way or another, without even knowing it, would get depression or find themselves in a bad place at some point in their life. It's just, but it's just the people that have something to stick to that sort of, can manage it and be honest with themselves are the ones that sort of breeze through it, with the others who kind of stick to what is contributing to it, and then sort of where you fluctuate in that time. So, yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely a battle, but it's always an uphill battle, and it's disheartening to hear people in terms of suicide, and that's I always get pretty upset. There's always soldiers and stuff that I know that have taken their own lives, and it's always hard to hear. So it's an important factor that probably needs to be looked at more.
Well, hopefully,
but it's a hard thing.
Yeah, it is, and I think the starting point is having more conversations, but the amount of work that needs to be done is pretty vast. I don't know what the answer to it is, but I think even us having this conversation will help someone, hopefully, and that's my whole goal with this, as well as talking about the hunting and the food and all the other good stuff that goes with it. I think having people on this podcast like yourself who have a wealth of knowledge but are also open to talking about these important subjects is super meaningful, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you're the bloody, what do you call it? You're the middleman, dude. So I hope that it's.
Well, I very much appreciate your insight and your time. I do have one more question for you, which is slightly off topic. Well, it's on topic, but off the mental health topic. And that is, what is your favorite thing to cook with the animals that you take?
Oh, favorite thing to cook, bro. I mean, it's pretty easy. The old backstraps are pretty good to cook. It's funny you mentioned that, though. I've taken the shanks off these deer, and at my new house I'm going to build a smoker. So I'm going to make a marinade bloody lamb shanks. So I don't know, I might do some stout and maple syrup and try that. So you'll hear about it if it tastes good. You won't if it tastes like shit. So,
well, if I never hear about it, I'll assume it was rubbish. The back straps are bloody good, eh? You can't beat those.
Oh, dude, man. Tar back straps, bro. If you get to try them, man. And I'm sure you will. Best meat we've ever had. So tar back straps.
Nice.
Good story in there. We were staying on a rock river, and we managed to cook them on a river rock.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty flame grilled.
That's very cool.
Tar back straps down the west coast, so for sure, man. Can't beat them.
I often see people saying tar's rubbish to eat. And then I talk to other people who absolutely love it, but they say it depends how you cook it.
Well, I cooked it on a rock with some butter. Tastes all right to me, mate. Yeah, was
it a bull tar?
Yeah, the bull tar that I shot was took the strips off, and I literally couldn't get enough of it, man. Like, I tried it and then bloody ate the whole thing. It was not like, red deer, I'll sort of just cut little strips off and make a stew or something like that with the boys at night. But this was like straight off the back of the animal. I think I ate the whole strap. And then,
nice.
It was just the best meat I've ever had. But I don't know. Each to their own, I guess. That's what people eat.
I'll keep that in mind for when I shoot one. I'll look for a good rock.
Yeah, chuck a big flat river rock, bro. A lot of fire. It takes about fucking 5 hours, though, so you can start early.
Oh, God. Do it in the morning. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time and your insight. And I will throw up all your social media links, even though I know it's not your priority at the moment. I think you've still got some awesome content and images and stories to share, so I'll definitely include those. And I look forward to getting out for a hunt with you one day.
Yeah, man, for sure. As I said, with anyone else who's getting to get out for a hunt, I am fucking busy with study, the house, and missus, but if people always have to ask, and I'll do my best to make the time to
Awesome.
get down, especially out in the Ruahines in there for sure, man. And appreciate it, bro. I love what you're doing. Love Eat What You Kill. It's a fantastic concept, and it's been a pleasure to watch it grow. And I hope that you continue to charge on with it and keep spreading this awesome message of mental health, man, because a lot of people appreciate it.
I definitely will. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Brave in the Wild. I'm Tim Kaverman, and I hope you enjoyed my discussion with Dave Perry. I think the information and insights he had to share will resonate with a lot of listeners. Personally, I'm inspired to connect with yet another Kiwi male willing to be vulnerable about his mental health, along with sharing some epic stories and insight. The Brave in the Wild is a podcast by Eat What You Kill. To learn more about the Eat What You Kill project, please visit eatwhatyoukill.co. To listen to or watch more episodes of The Brave in the Wild, simply visit thebraveinthewild.fm. Choose your favourite listening platform and you're away. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next episode.